My name is Poe. I am a comedian and activist in Philadelphia. This is the last Sunday that you can book me. You're lucky that the Eagles are on tomorrow. I'll fucking leave, man. I'll leave. So honestly, just a little background about myself. I got into activism about 2 years ago. The Panic Hour dreamed up this smoke down prohibition thing. Has anyone ever been to a smoke down prohibition that's here? There you go. Yeah, you ain't smoked weed in one yet, Haney. So we do a civil disobedience rally in Philadelphia. We had 4 very productive, fun, glorious ones, and then there was one that I was arrested at and taken to federal detention where I spent some time in solitary confinement. So the sting of the drug war I've now felt personally at this point, where before I just loved marijuana and I write a lot when I smoke marijuana and I like listening to music, and now it's literally, you know, come home to really be something that has touched me personally. And you know, a lot of my first exposure was to people in New Jersey through Ken and Chris Goldstein, and you know, meeting patients in New Jersey really inspired me to get involved for a reason that wasn't self-serving, and to, you know, realize that there's people out there that need this attention, and through our comedy and our activism, maybe we can, you know, draw some attention to this. So I thank everyone for gathering here today. My good friend Mike Whiter from Philly Normal, he's the co-chair, is going to be helping me out. He's also from Pennsylvania Veterans for Marijuana Legalization, which is one of the most important issues, and it's near and dear to my heart with Mike being such a great friend of mine. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike for a minute or two, and then we're going to get everything started. Thanks everyone so much for coming out.
So my name is Mike Whiter. I run a group called Pennsylvania Veterans for Medical Marijuana. I'm also on the board of Philly Normal. I do a lot of work with other veterans, trying to help other veterans that have PTSD and other issues where the VA gives them a bunch of medications and they get addicted to these medications. These medications are killing veterans. And I was on 40 medications, 40 medications over 5.5 or 6 years with the VA. And one day I was watching a National Geographic documentary. You know, I hadn't smoked weed since like high school, like 17 years old. And I was watching a National Geographic documentary. I saw this medical marijuana thing, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try that shit. So, you know, I smoked pot, and you know, I liked it, and so I smoked more pot, and I stayed high, and I got off of fucking medications that were gonna kill me. And marijuana saved my life. I just smoke pot, and I take a thyroid hormone now. And I'm out here talking to you guys. I would have never been doing this a year and a half or 2 years ago. I appreciate you guys all coming out here. I think Poe's going to introduce the first speaker. I'm going to turn it back over to him. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, I feel bad for all you guys having to live in a state where you have like a right-wing Tony Soprano running your fucking medical marijuana program. It's horrendous that, you know, politicians are horrendous to me in general, but actually that's a bad thing because I'm introducing a politician. So everyone fucking strike that from the record. Our first speaker this afternoon, is Stephen Welser. He's the Green Party 2013 candidate for governor. He's previously run for the U.S. House of Representatives and for State Assembly. Now, Steve has been a Green Movement activist for almost 20 years. He was a founding member of the Green Party of New Jersey in 1997, and he recently served on the steering committee for the Green Party of the United States, which I'm sure he'll tell you what it is, because no one's steering this shit. He's co-editor of the Journal of Green Horizon magazine, and he holds a master's degree in economics from Rutgers University. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Welser.
No, I'm an anti-politician. When the Green Party started out in the 80s, it was called the Anti-Party Party. That's the truth. I want to welcome everybody. It's a great day to be out, and it's, you know, congratulations to NORML and all the others putting together this event, very successful event. Glad you could come out today. Just last week on Netflix, I was watching episodes of that miniseries on Prohibition that Ken Burns did for PBS a couple of years ago. It was about, if you saw it, it was about the adoption of the 18th Amendment in 1919. And then the disastrous social and criminal ramifications until the repeal of Prohibition in 1933. 14 years of stupidity that showed so clearly the folly and the unintended consequences that occurred when misguided government policies try to over-control people's behavior. Almost 100 years have passed since 1919, and there's finally some glimmer of hope that the lessons that should have been learned from that experience are starting to be learned. I say that on the basis of what's happened in Washington and Colorado, and the fact that almost half of the states now have either approved medical marijuana usage, decriminalized it for recreational use, or have completely legalized it. So we're getting somewhere. Now, New Jersey should be at the forefront of progressive social change, but it's not. A Green Party administration would advocate for legalization of same-sex marriage, legalization of marijuana usage by adults, and an end to the so-called war on drugs. The Green Party platform includes the following recommendations. At the national level, the Controlled Substances Act should be amended to reflect that drug use itself is not a crime. At the state level, prior felony convictions for marijuana possession should be stricken from the record. We should grant amnesty and release from confinement without any further parole or probation to those who have been incarcerated for the use of marijuana and those who otherwise are without convictions of victim-oriented crimes, and we should provide the option of drug treatment to those leaving confinement. Nationally, enforcing marijuana prohibition costs taxpayers an estimated $10 billion annually and results in the arrest of more than 750,000 individuals per year, far more than the total number of arrestees for all violent crimes combined. Our campaign just came out with a position paper on the mass incarceration crisis. In fact, the author is out. Mike Mangels is here today. He's the author. Please stop by our table over there. There are copies of that. There are also copies on our website, welserforgovernor.org. Mike's paper on the mass incarceration crisis concludes, the war on drugs has devastated this country. It has taken a sociological problem and created a crisis of criminalization. The level of mass incarceration is deplorable and it demands action. As a community, we should reject the paradigm of excessive punishment and move toward humane alternatives. So please stop by, get a copy of our paper. If Greens, Libertarians, and all those with common sense about this issue would work together going forward, I'm confident that our battle against the war on drugs will be successful in the not-too-distant future. Keep up the good work and all that you're doing. Thank you so much.
Your next speaker is a very accomplished in New Jersey medical marijuana. She's a member of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana in New Jersey. She's an advisor on the New Jersey NORML Women's Alliance, and she's the founder of the Association of Safe Access Providers. Marianne Bays.
I was asked right before this whether I wanted any personal description of myself in the introduction. So I should start off by saying that I'm not a medical cannabis patient. I've never been arrested for the use of cannabis. I am a business professional who began getting interested in the opportunities for a new industry in New Jersey 5 years ago. And I'm also a person who has friends and family that I love dearly who suffer from illnesses who benefit greatly from the use of medical cannabis. So that's my background coming into this. 5 years ago when I began studying the industry, I saw hope for employment, new jobs in New Jersey, and hope for patients' safe access to medical cannabis in New Jersey. Today, I have to agree with what I'm sure you're going to hear over and over again. The program in New Jersey is broken. With only one alternative treatment center open 2.5 years after the initial 6 permits were given, and with just a tiny fraction of our patients served, you have to say, 4 years after our compassionate use law was enacted, we got nothing. Okay? Greenleaf is the only operating alternative treatment center, and it's been taking a lot of heat lately. I think it is doing the best that it can. Okay? I think that we need to cut them some slack. Our state law calls for an implementation of a minimum of 6 alternative treatment centers to serve the state. We've known from the beginning that 6 is too few. 1 is pathetic. Now, each of the alternative treatment center applicants were asked to develop business plans that would say, what the population was that they were going to serve and how they were going to serve them. None of them anticipated that only 1 would be standing and would try to be served the entire state. Okay? The blame that's hitting Greenleaf, I think, should come back to the state. While I say that Greenleaf is doing the best that it can, I don't think the state government is doing the best that it can. Many of the very obvious problems in this program could have been avoided if the state had actually listened to the people that testified in the hearings that were held. From the beginning, we argued that overregulation of the medical cannabis product was wrong-headed. Alternative treatment centers need to be able to offer the medicine needed by patients in the forms that are most suitable for the patients. And if the alternative treatment centers cannot do that, this program will die. I was part of a group of business professionals who worked together in New Jersey to comment on the draft regulations, and I looked back at that when I was putting this together. In January 2011, we said, New Jersey cannot have an effective medical marijuana program if the regulations overburden startup nonprofit organizations. If the alternative treatment centers cannot make an ongoing operation yield sufficient profit to pay for professional staff, New Jersey's compassionate use medical marijuana program will fail. If the alternative treatment centers are not allowed to provide the medical grade cannabis and cannabis products that patients need, New Jersey's compassionate use medical marijuana program will fail. So I have to ask now, looking back at all of this, why, Governor Christie, does your political judgment keep trumping medical knowledge and common sense?
That's right, yep.
You say that medical cannabis use is between a physician and a patient, and in the case of a child, also a matter of parental judgment. But your actions are completely inconsistent with this. I personally am very tired of hearing you say things that are not true about New Jersey's medical marijuana program. They may make nice quotes for your national press, but they border on outright lies to the citizens of New Jersey who elected you. You've said repeatedly that this program is failing because the law is flawed. In truth, the law is fine. It wasn't perfect, but it was a completely adequate start. It's your administration's regulations that are killing this program. The latest round of lawmaking is an illustration of this. I think you're probably all aware of the changes that were enacted recently in order to provide better access for minors and in order to provide a better range of medicine. That legislation was actually needed to undo the regulations. The law wasn't wrong, the regulations have been. It's the state administration's failure to foster the program that is making it fail. I want to know where the physician education is that the fees should be paying for at this point. I want to know where the annual report on the status of the program is, the one that should look at how are we doing, what can be done to make it better. I want to know where the supportive actions are that show any understanding of all of what's needed to get a new industry started in the state. And I want to know why every decision related to this program is pushed out past a reasonable deadline. People are suffering. The law says that the Department of Health is responsible for processes that seek to ensure adequate access, the availability of a sufficient number of alternative treatment centers throughout the state. I can't possibly think that they've fulfilled their obligation under this law. The law says that they should implement process to evaluate the need for other qualifying conditions. That still has not been begun. The law says that the state is responsible for implementation of this law. Does it also have to spell out that then the state should take some action when they say it's not working? I say it's time for us to hold the state government accountable. Thank you for your time.
How is everyone hanging in there? Ooh. All right. One of my favorite things about the marijuana movement is there's so many different kind of people. I've met so many different people, and everyone has a lot of different personalities, and sometimes it's hard to get along. But it's nice to see everyone working here together to do that. Now, Christy, a couple of weeks ago, this guy the father got in his face, and that changed a little bit of the law, right? Is that correct? Is there now a law here for children to receive? Yeah. Yeah, so it's that kind of direct action like that that's really nice. I feel like not being from the state and hearing you talk is like you're kind of handcuffed by this law. So moving beyond everyone here and trying to take that out to a more popular movement in the street. So what I'm trying to say, I want everyone to lay in the street. Your next speaker, I'm trying to lighten it up, man. Your next speaker is pretty new to the marijuana movement. She's a New Jersey NORML member. She's a plethora of degrees, so I really feel like she's going to bring a lot to your fight here in New Jersey. So, ladies and gentlemen, Maria Depalma.
Hi everyone, thank you for the introduction. Can everybody hear me? Pretty well?
Speak up a little more.
Speak up a little more.
Mic and a little bit towards you.
Okay, I know everybody's covering a lot of different topics. I thought it might be interesting to actually delve into the history of why marijuana became illegal in the first place and why hemp became illegal in the first place. It was interesting. I just actually read something a couple weeks ago put out by the NORML, national organization. It was on their blog or on their page, and I think it was written by Alan St. Pierre, and it said something to the effect of, really, most people are ignorant about marijuana and about the history and about its medical benefits. The only people that really study this are people that, have something invested, whether they have somebody sick in their family or they like to smoke pot recreationally, whatever the reason. Most of the public really has no idea. And I think this crowd probably does have a lot of information about, the origins of marijuana, the origins of prohibition, but I just want to give you straight out, where it's coming from. So I'm going to read, I pulled a little bit this is from maryjane.com. I re-referenced it with Wikipedia, a bunch of other references, so I will begin. I just want to start with going over the history of the prohibition of cannabis. I think that this will provide some insight as to why news editors are squashing stories about the curing cancer capabilities of marijuana, and why the government is still handing out lifetime jail sentences to dispensary owners, and pretty much holding the medicine from sick and dying patients. Marijuana obviously has been used since the beginning of time. This is why we have an endocannabinoid system in human beings. This is also why we have an endocannabinoid system in domesticated animals that were, brought up and related to us and interacting with us throughout history. From it, marijuana, we've made a number of things such as paper, fabric, crops, building materials, protein, fuel, and medicine. Not to mention oils made from the plant. Not to mention oils made from the plant are the most, some of the oils, the concentrated oils, are the most medically beneficial, substances that we have. Let's see. Pretty much, I want to start with why this became illegal. So it all came down to a vicious fight for billion-dollar markets that took place in the early 1900s. And sorry for reading off, but I'm just trying to break it down. In 1913, Henry Ford opened his famous automobile assembly line to start producing the Model T. We've all heard of that. In the 30s, Ford opened a plant in Michigan. I'm sure we've all heard of that too. You might not know, where they successfully experimented with biomass fuel conversion, providing that hemp could be used as an alternative to fossil fuels. Very, very important. I repeat, hemp can be used as an alternative to fossil fuels. They extracted methanol, charcoal fuel, tar, pitch, ethyl acetate, and creosote, all from hemp. What this meant was that Ford could now produce their own raw materials based from hemp to make cars, but that he could also make the fuel that ran on hemp, since hemp can be converted to ethanol, so that they could, control their supply chain, the raw materials, and have the cars run on hemp. The discovery actually was horrible news for a man named Andrew Mellon. We've all heard of that. Mellon, Carnegie Mellon Institute, who owned much of the Gulf Oil Corporation, a company who had just recently opened their first drive-through gas station. Now, Andrew Mellon, on top of owning Gulf Oil Corporation, was the Secretary of Treasury at the time under President Herbert Hoover, and owner of the 6th largest bank at the time, Mellon Bank. His bank was the primary financial supporter of a petrochemical company called DuPont. DuPont was at that time developing and patenting many different forms of synthetics, from fossil fuels, including synthetic rubber, plastic, rayon, to even the paint that GM used on their own cars. However, Mellon Bank was most heavily invested in DuPont's sulfur-based process of turning wood into usable paper. So again, they are invested in turning wood fiber into paper. And this will come into play later. In 1916, Mellon's investment began to look like a money pit when the U.S. Department of Agriculture chief scientists processed paper from hemp pulp and concluded that paper from hemp was favorable in comparison with those made from wood pulp. The paper produced from hemp fibers did not yellow over time, unlike the chemical-drenched paper that was being produced by the other company. In addition, an acre of hemp produces more paper than an acre of regular trees. Not to mention that hemp can be cultivated more efficiently than trees. Trees take years and years and years to grow. You cut them down, they take years and years and years to grow back. Whereas, as we all know, hemp can be, planted, harvested. The turnaround is a lot quicker. It's a lot more efficient. Strangely enough, or despite the fact that it is and was more efficient, the actual production of hemp fiber in the U.S. declined from 1933 to around 500 tons per year, and to be sure, this was not a coincidence. In the 1930s, a man by the name of William Randolph Hearst invested heavily in thousands of acres of timberland to make, again, wood pulp for most of the newspaper industry. Now remember, back in these days, the newspaper was the primary form of entertainment. We didn't have TV, so everybody was reading the newspaper. This is extremely critical. He, Randolph Hearst, was the owner of a large newspaper company that was read by more than 20 million U.S. citizens in 18 key cities. Pretty much he had a monopoly. And he was arguably one of the most powerful men in America at the time. Since Hearst didn't want any competition from the high-quality hemp paper, he had to do something. So he soon teamed up with DuPont. Remember the guy that's producing the rayon, the textiles, so he has ulterior motives to begin with. DuPont was providing Hearst with the chemicals he used to preserve his papers at the time. Together, they would take hemp completely off the market, and this is how they do it. The DuPont Corporation was persistently lobbying Washington, D.C. Meanwhile, Hearst began a racist smear campaign in his newspapers. A quote from one of Hearst's newspapers from the time: "Marijuana influences Negroes to look at white people in the eye. step on white men's shadows, and look at a white woman twice. I kid you not.
That's our government.
Exactly. Same people. Same people. Didn't change much in a couple generations.
It's our government.
Her Snugs paper was the fuel for the fire for the Prohibition and convinced millions of Americans that cannabis was an extremely dangerous drug. They call this yellow journalism, and he convinced Americans and of course even congressmen that the harmless plant was in fact evil and morally evil. They even called it satanic. Films like Reefer Madness, I saw a lot of those signs, t-shirts in the crowd today, had the public blaming cannabis for everything from car accidents to death, which is kind of interesting, I think, because even today, some of our opponents' arguments are that, I think it was Bill O'Reilly that said something to the effect of, well, we don't want all these pot smokers, driving on the parkway going 80 miles an hour, causing accidents. Everybody's afraid of that. Yeah, right? Having fun yet? Let's continue. Sorry if I'm too lengthy. The Federal Bureau of Narcotics, FBN, was an agency. That was their version of the DEA. DEA back then, was an agency of the U.S. Department of the Treasury and was established in 1932 by an act of consolidating the functions of the Federal Narcotics Control Board and the Narcotic Division. Andrew Mellon, again, appointed his niece's husband, I didn't know this, his niece's husband, our famed Henry Anslinger, Harry Anslinger, as the chief of the newly consolidated agency. Anslinger testified before Congress by saying, marijuana is the most violence-causing drug in the history of mankind. Most marijuana smokers are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, again the race card, and entertainers. And at that time, we wanted the Hispanics out because the economy was declining and they were vying for jobs, or so they were making the American public think. So this is all playing into the political arena at that time. Entertainers, their satanic music, jazz, and swing results from marijuana usage. Quite disparaging, wouldn't you say? This marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes. We've all heard that. I know. Who knew, right? Who knew it could do that? He often used propaganda stories, run by Hearst's newspapers while lobbying. Anslinger ordered the Treasury Department's General Counsel, Herman Oliphant, to secretly begin drafting a bill that would slip easily through both Congress and the court. After 2 years, the FBN proposed the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937, which placed a tax on the sale of cannabis. Anslinger essentially tricked people and said that this was a tax bill, a tax act, a tax revenue bill, which of course most people like because they want revenue for the government. So it was pushed through the House and introduced to the floor without it being debated by other committees. So they did this, very subversively and very tricky. Anyway, let's see. Of course, some of the other, the chairman of this committee, the one that pushed it through, happened to be an ally of DuPont again. His name was Robert Downing. It was later seen by another DuPont ally, Prentice Brown, in the Senate Finance Committee, where it was stamped into law. That same year, incidentally, DuPont patented a new fabric called nylon, which Andrew Mellon was also heavily invested in. This is interesting, the American Medical Association, especially given what is going on with medical marijuana, that's why it's so interesting, actually opposed the act because the tax punished physicians who were at that time prescribing cannabis. Also punished retail pharmacists selling cannabis and medical cannabis cultivation. They claimed the American Medical Association, claimed that the bill had been prepared in secret, which of course it had been, without giving proper time to prepare their opposition or their studies or their research. and many were completely unaware that the bill was about hemp, because the word marijuana, the disparaging marijuana spelled with the H, had only been used in a song once before. So again, they tricked people. Okay, wrap it up, he's telling me. So the AMA also argued against the FBM's claim that marijuana is an addictive, violent drug. So again, back in that day, even the medical people were arguing that it wasn't an addictive drug. Let's see, I'm gonna go right to the end, pretty much. It talks about Schedule 1, but we all know about that. Pretty much, when you consider all the facts, it's apparent why the drug was classified and why it was made illegal. It was not made illegal because of any research. It was not made illegal because anybody actually proved that it was harmful, that it was addictive, that it actually caused people to seek strange interracial relationships, that it caused aggressive behavior. It was made illegal through collusion. It was made illegal because of corporate greed, because it was competition to this group of people that were pretty much monopolizing our economy at the time. And that's why I think that the entire thing is ridiculous and hypocritical. The prohibition on marijuana is hypocritical, it is injurious, it's ridiculous, and it is time to change and reform.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Was anybody else here in the military? We have veterans. Don, you were in the Navy, right? All right, so we know what field day is. So field day is a day during the week where everybody gets together and cleans, or that we clean our rooms and the barracks and all that crap, clean up the ship, whatever. This place, it needs to be field day because it's disgusting. Like every single corner in here has a freaking spider web. I've got spider webs all over my shirt. So with that, your next speaker is a member of NORMLNJ, and she's a member of New Jersey NORML. She's a medical marijuana patient here in New Jersey. Ladies and gentlemen, Rowyn Capers.
Hi. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm nervous. I'm very nervous. My name is Rowyn Capers. I am a New Jersey medical marijuana card-holding patient that currently has no access to safe, legal medicine that would be provided by the state. I was a patient who was lucky enough to get into Greenleaf and pay $560 an ounce. I was also lucky enough to piss Greenleaf off enough, I guess, to where they stopped calling me to come in. I want to welcome everybody here, and I'd like to start off with a moment of silence for the people who have died waiting for safe legal access to a plant, as well as a moment for the prisoners of the drug war who are rotting in jail cells and whose lives have been ruined by either a drug conviction or the conviction of a friend or family member. You are not forgotten, and may freedom soon ring. A year ago, my glaucoma got out of control, and I found out that I actually qualified for New Jersey's medical marijuana program. None of my other symptoms at that time were diseases qualified: spinal stenosis, fibromyalgia, hepatitis C, irritable bowel syndrome, which has now become IBD, so that would qualify, PTSD, social anxiety, you name it. Everything that marijuana heals, I probably have, and then some. Yet it wasn't until my eyes started to fail on me that I could get into the program. I found out about the Coalition for Medical Marijuana in New Jersey online, and I went to a meeting to find out what could they tell me, how could they help me. And what I found out was that we had a very broken program, that we were still waiting for dispensaries to open 3 years after after the law was passed, 3 years after we were told we were going to have 6 alternative treatment centers. Several months later, we had one, and now we have none. And I don't want to argue with other speakers, but I don't think that Greenleaf has done the best that they can do. I think that Greenleaf maybe bit off more than they could chew. But Greenleaf blamed the Department of Health, the Department of Health blamed Greenleaf, and patients are who suffered. That's not okay with me. I've had 2 surgeries on my eyes because Greenleaf cut me off, and I had no way to get medication. I found out yesterday that those surgeries did not help. So without access to cannabis, I could continue to go blind. I've learned a lot in the past year, and after when I walked out of that first NORMLNJ meeting, I said it's no longer what can they do for me, it's what can I do to help this program? What can I do to help the people who are sicker than I am? Because I don't see myself really as sick. A lot of my disabilities are invisible, I look okay. Yet I see other people who are definitely not okay, or I hear of somebody who's in hospice, who's in bed, who's in the hospital, and they can't medicate, and I need to know what I can do to help them. I learned that it's not just about THC. I learned that there are so many different cannabinoids that I haven't actually found any literature that agrees on how many there are. Some say there's 66, some say there's over 300. The ones that I was able to find that we're interested in are THC, of course, delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol, and I probably will mispronounce everything, CBD cannabidiol, CBN cannabinol, THCV cannabivarin, CBG cannabigerol, CBC, CBL, CBT, and that's in the decarboxylated form. We've also found out now that we don't have to heat our marijuana past the point of ignition, that the acid forms, the non-decarbed forms, actually help. They help much slower, they're not psychoactive, but they have anti-inflammatory properties. All cannabis, heated or not, has neuroprotective properties, and it has neurorestorative properties. That means that some of the children who are having seizures that have been on medications that have basically stunted their growth and stopped their brains from developing can take cannabis and have their brains start to come back. Brains are neuroplastic. It's called neuroplasticity. The brain can regenerate, and cannabis helps this. Just out of curiosity, how many people just came out today just because you were looking for some kind of change? Cool. How many are here just because you enjoy smoking cannabis and wanted the freedom to do so? Right on. Do you realize that smoking pot to relax and socialize has medicinal value and is held in high regard among cultures around the globe? And that the taking of the sacrament of cannabis during a moment of reflection is indeed a religious and freeing experience?
Absolutely.
I'm not allowed to smoke up here, I've been told.
Right. I will.
But what I can do, I'm sorry, I'm not prepared. Is I can have a moment of cannabis reflection on a communion wafer. I just medicated. Governor Christie, you don't want me to be able to do what I just did. You want me to have to pull out my grinder, pull out my medicine, pull out a paper papers, grind my medicine while I'm shaking to death, put it in a joint or a vaporizer or a pipe and medicate. Or I can just stick something in my mouth like I just did. I can open up a bottle and do that, and I'm medicated. Why should I have to smoke or vaporize? Why should I have to inhale? Why should somebody who can't swallow be limited to the lozenges that your administration says are okay? Yet we've never seen them in the one dispensary that, oh yeah, that was right, it's still closed.
Come on, Christy.
How many in our crowd today are card-holding patients in New Jersey? How many have actually managed to get a card? That's pathetic. That's pathetic. We've had an operating medical marijuana program for 4 years, and there's like 3 card holders here. How many should be patients but are left out by the restrictions that the Christie administration has placed on our medical marijuana program?
Her visit.
And I haven't gotten anywhere
That's right.
since I've had my card since October.
That's right.
This is ridiculous. I got people getting me certified. They can't make sure about that. People worry about getting me my medicine.
That's right. For those who couldn't hear her, there are about 2,000 people on the waiting list who can't get their medicine yet. How many people came out here because you know someone who is a patient or take care of a patient and you're looking for more support or information? How many people have a family member who's sick and would benefit from marijuana, but they feel stigmatized and would rather be sick and die, perhaps, than use an herb that grows wild all over the globe? We need to change that. How many cops do we have out here? Don't be shy.
Multiple in my family.
Don't be shy. We even have great information for you. There's an organization called LEAP, Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. Yes, even law enforcement can join the reform movement. You can still do your job and work towards positive change. How many were just passing by and decided to stop? Because you too are a part of change and a part of freedom. And I want you to give all of you a round of applause because you've exercised your freedom of choice to show up for your freedom and the freedom of others. Because if you were just passing by and made the decision to stop, you exercised your free will and the freedom to do as you like with your body and your time. And you made a choice to change. You changed whatever else you were going to do today to be here with us. And what I found is that three things go together: freedom, liberty, and change. Those three things equal independence. And that's what we are fighting for. Today we are fighting for the right to use cannabis to heal our bodies and minds. We are fighting to get back one of the most potent and widely used healing plants in the history of humankind, dating back to the ancient Chinese pharmacopoeia, and I wasn't sure if it was the 4th or 5th century BC. We are fighting to keep our brothers and sisters out of the prison industrial complex, which is our modern day slavery. I'll repeat, the prison industrial complex is our modern day slavery. There is a saying that you can overcome an addiction, but you cannot overcome a conviction. Freedom is what we came here to talk about today. And what is freedom? I decided to go to the dictionary. Freedom is liberation from restraint from the power of another, independence. Liberty of a person from slavery, detention, or oppression, the prison industrial complex. The quality of being open, unrestricted use. Why is it that we're being told that we can only use our medication in one form? A political right, political independence. We have 4 speakers here today that are here to talk about political independence. These candidates are going to talk about freedom. They represent freedom. They represent that we have the power to choose who represents us, not because they were endorsed by millions of dollars poured into one of 2 parties, but because they have the courage of their beliefs to come out and stand for us. Personal liberty, autonomy. This is all under the definition of freedom. Self-government or independence, the power or liberty to order one's own actions. The next word in the dictionary after freedom is freedom fighter. The previous word in the dictionary is freedman. So we go from freedman to freedom fighter. That almost sounds backwards to me. As a philosophy, freedom is having the ability to choose between alternative actions in identical circumstances. Again, let us medicate the way we want to medicate. I know I'm going a little bit long. This is the medication that I have been prescribed by my pharmaceutical-loving doctors since January of 2013. This is my little medical cannabis bag that I carry my smokable or little vape pen medication with. Or if I make my own edibles, I can put my edibles in there. They have to still be in the old green leaf bags. Legalization helps patients. The whole thing for me behind decriminalization is it would free up law enforcement to actually do what we need law enforcement to do, and that's make our streets safe. And in Trenton, that's a big freaking deal. We need a moratorium on arresting card-holding patients. We have over 2,000 people who have paid either $200 or $20 if you're on public assistance for a card. We've paid thousands of dollars to our doctors, and every 2, 3, 4 months, depending on the doctor, we have to go get recertified. That costs money. Yet only 120 of us have actually had access to legal marijuana in New Jersey. We need more qualifying conditions. I saw a lot of hands out there of people who should be in this program and who aren't. My experience, the fact that I've had 2 eye surgeries that have been unsuccessful, and the needless drugs that I take, and the thousands of dollars I would have to pay to get off of those drugs. My sentence makes no sense. I would have to pay thousands of dollars to get off of those drugs, whereas cannabis has already helped me cut out 80% of my breakthrough pain medication. I'd like to wish each of the candidates here today the best of luck in effecting the change we so badly need and are counting on. Namaste. Someone asked me if I was going to do it. I did it.
Yeah, you're gonna pass it? Jesus Christ. I don't know what made you people think that the same state that brought you New Jersey, brought you Bon Jovi, would bring you good drug laws. I messed that up. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the police. I know most of the time they're just enforcing the law, but as we get deeper into this drug war, it's nice to see so many people that are involved in law enforcement. They're crossing over and they're realizing there's better stuff for them to do, than enforce the insane drug laws. Next gentleman, I've vetted him. I mean, if you take a look at him, he doesn't look like a former cop. He's done some undercover work. So he's a former state police detective. He did tell me 4 fucking times right over there, and I still. So he's involved with law enforcement, and I'm sure he'll clarify that a little better for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andrew Singer. Andrew.
I told him 4 times and he still got it wrong. I'm a retired detective with the Passaic County Sheriff's Department. I'm here for 3 reasons today. First and foremost is I'm the parent of a special needs child who suffers from uncontrollable seizures every day and every night. He's on a plethora of meds. There was just a News 12 special on my son. If you look at the News 12 site, you can see all his meds. He's on a ton of meds for anti-seizures. He's on a ton of meds for stomach issues. He's on a ton of meds for so many different things. Each one of these meds has horrific side effects. Each one of these meds interacts with each other. My son is lost. I have signed off to one of the best brain surgeons in the country at NYU to allow this man to cut open my son's skull, operate on his brain 5 times. I have signed off on, like I said, unbelievable and horrific anti-seizure meds that don't work. Why would I not try a plant that grows from the ground that has no side effects, that is proven to help him? That for some reason the media doesn't really want to get it out there that much. We're finally getting the backing of the media behind us, but the truth needs to be told about the healing qualities of marijuana. Every day there's more and more. I just saw a study the other day how it's helping against protecting against strokes. The list is, there are so many people here, like you've just heard. The list goes on and on and on what marijuana can help. So why is it still being stuffed down? Why is it being brushed under the rug? Why isn't the truth coming out? It can help my son. It can help their other parents here whose children are suffering. There are other people here who are suffering. Why can't it help them? Second is, like I said, I'm a retired detective. I did 20 years with the Passaic County Sheriff's Department around the streets of Patterson. If anybody knows Patterson, there's some pretty rough streets. Thank you! There's some pretty rough streets there. I've seen it all. I was a warrant detective. I didn't have hundreds of arrests. I had thousands of arrests. I can tell you interesting stories about how I've been shot at, how I've been stabbed, how I've been run over with a car. Most of them PCP, crack addicts, heroin addicts who defy gravity by standing at a 45-degree angle. I can tell you very funny stories about people that I've arrested who have been high. They don't want to fight, they don't want to run, they want to talk to you, they want to joke about things. I really can't tell you stories, horrific police stories, about dealing with people with marijuana. They're just not there. Like I said, you got a couple hours, I can tell you some amazing stories about other things. Alcohol, which is legal. Probably the worst people in my career that I've ever dealt with. There's nothing worse than fighting someone who is belligerent and drunk. It starts off with talking, it goes to crying, it goes to hugging, it goes to fighting, it goes to biting, it goes to them taking their clothes off. And that's alcohol, which is legal. Once again, going back to somebody who was high, they just wanted to make sure that they had all the property, they wanted to make sure that their family was notified, and that's it. Third and foremost, as a human being who has seen so much, who has done my research, who has not listened to the mainstream media, who knows the healing effects. Like I said, I've been shot at, I've been run over by cars, I've seen it all, I've done it all. I've been to psychiatrists who have prescribed Xanax and other things. I couldn't function on my job on Xanax. I couldn't function taking care of my special needs son, who was a 24/7 job. I can't stand here and say that I know much about marijuana legally, but if I were to smoke a joint at night after having such a tough day, if it were to take the edge off and help me relax a little, it's not doing any damage like if I were drinking. It's not destroying my liver, it's not destroying my kidneys. What's wrong with me just sitting back and relaxing and enjoying myself after a long day like everyone else deserves the right to? I'm here for my son, I'm here for you. Let's be peaceful, but let's be heard. Let's stop the insanity and all this BS, all right? Let's let people know the truth. Thank you, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
You guys awake?
Yeah.
Bullshit. You guys awake?
Yeah.
I'm not awake. I'm not gonna lie to you. So, your next speaker is the co-founder of NORMLNJ. He was a Green Party candidate for Senate last year, and he's a registered nurse. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Wolski.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the kind introduction, and thank you so much for coming out today. I am a registered nurse. I've been an RN in New Jersey for 38 years now. I worked for about 8 years in intensive care units and coronary care units. I worked for 25 years for the state of New Jersey, including 22 years for the New Jersey Department of Corrections. My experience with the DOC in the prison industry showed me that the war on drugs is a total failure. It's completely wrong and misguided and just counterproductive, really, to try to deal with the problem of drug abuse from a criminal justice perspective. So for the last 10 years, I've been executive director of the Coalition for Medical Marijuana in New Jersey. The mission of our organization is to educate the public about the benefits of marijuana. Marijuana is a safe, effective, and inexpensive therapeutic agent for a wide variety of diseases, symptoms, and conditions. It should be available to anybody who can benefit from it, and no patient should ever go to jail for following the advice of a doctor. Thank you. We have a medical marijuana program in New Jersey now. New Jersey, the state of New Jersey recognizes marijuana as medicine, and it's done so since 2010, when the New Jersey Compassionate Use Medical Marijuana Act passed into law. But of course, the medical marijuana program is not functioning properly right now. It's being strangled by the regulations from the Christie administration. even bigger problem, something that is keeping marijuana, medical marijuana, from even more patients in the United States, is the federal government. The federal government's insistence that marijuana is a Schedule I drug means that it has no accepted medical uses in the United States and is unsafe for use even under medical supervision. This is an insult to the 20 states that have passed medical marijuana laws. It's an insult to the million or more patients in the United States who use marijuana under a doctor's recommendation. It's an insult to the thousands of physicians and healthcare organizations that have endorsed medical marijuana. And it's an insult to the science itself. Because since the discovery of the endocannabinoid system, the science has been quite clear on the underpinnings of how marijuana actually works in the human body. So, thank you again for coming out today. It's very important that you demonstrate your support for marijuana. And our organization has meetings on the second Tuesday of every month at the Lawrence Township Library from 7 to 9 p.m. Tuesday's our next meeting. You're welcome to come. You can sign up on our website for monthly updates on what's going on in New Jersey, and do everything we can to stop the insults to the patients and to science itself that the federal government and this administration has been perpetrating. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken, RN. Ken is, you wouldn't think that a guy like me, that Ken would have so much influence on my work, but Ken was one of the first people that I met working towards marijuana, and his pragmatic solutions for marijuana and his dedication to this cause are something to be honored, because no one works harder than Ken, so thank you, Ken. Our next speaker is running for governor here today. I just took some time to look over his platform, and everything he wants is so common sense, honest solutions to making this country great again. And I think it's ridiculous that that you would even have to run on things that are such common sense anymore, because they're really just some wonderful things that he'd like to change here in your state. So recommend everyone listen up right now for gubernatorial, is that how you say that? Gubernatorial candidate, Ken Kaplan.
Really happy to be here with you all today. I'm Ken Kaplan, the Libertarian Party candidate for governor. I'm not exactly new to this movement. Back in the 1970s, I was going through my files. I came across a letter that I had written to some state official. It's on a yellow copy paper that we used to have before we saved everything digitally. And I saw that I signed it Essex County Coordinator for NORML. Woo! Now, to the best of my recollection, the way I became the Essex County Coordinator for NORML was, I think I was speaking to the state coordinator, and I said, "Who's the Essex County Coordinator?" And they said, "You're it." Anyhow, we have two issues here. We have medical marijuana, and we have marijuana generally, for the general public. And I'm personally touched by the medical marijuana issue. I have a family member who I'm going to refer to as the patient, because my family member values their privacy. The patient suffers from multiple sclerosis, is wheelchair bound, can walk with difficulty with a walker, has tried pretty much every conventional medication for many years, and at my suggestion, the patient applied for the state medical marijuana program. Now, that's not easy. The patient's regular doctor is not participating in the program, so the patient had to seek out another doctor. And it can't be just one visit. I think it's 3 or 4 visits that were required. These visits are not covered by by health insurance, so there was that expense. The patient had to pay $200 for the ID card. I am the designated caregiver, so that was another $200. And of course, as you've heard from the other speakers, there's only one center that's open in Montclair, and it's only serving 100 some odd patients. So there's a backlog of thousands of patients who have paid their money for their ID cards and have worthless ID cards. And that's the situation of the patient in my family. We're still waiting. Now, some of you are familiar when a politician, an office holder has their name printed. There's often a little designation in parentheses after their name. Well, you see that little R after Chris Christie's name in parentheses? That R doesn't stand for Republican. It stands for roadblock. The regulations need to be changed. If that requires modifying the law, so be it. But the patient in my family is a non-smoker, and they need an ingestible form of marijuana. And even the lozenges that were authorized by the law and the regulations, Greenleaf never got their lozenges approved. They only have it in smokable form when they have it. So this needs to be changed. All the centers need to be opened. Marijuana needs to be available in different forms for that poor baby who's suffering the seizures and for other patients who are non-smokers and need the marijuana in ingestible forms. Now, we also have the other issue, recreational marijuana. Why is it not treated the same way we treat wine and beer? Available legally, taxed. Why are we paying money to farmers to hold their land undeveloped when we could give them a cash crop to grow? Why are we paying tax dollars to keep people from farming when they could have an incentive to keep their farms as farms by having a viable cash crop that they could grow? Makes no sense to me. Now, I'm not here to tell anybody whether they should smoke marijuana or whether they should have a beer. You're all adults. And those of you here who aren't adults, your parents can tell you what or what not to do, okay? The government should be out of the equation. I'll leave it up to you to decide. Libertarians believe in self-ownership. You own your own body. You can do with it what you want. You can put into it what you want. And you can, by the way, marry who you want, okay? There was a time in my life when I thought that this was a generational battle. When I thought the older generation was set in their ways and for whatever reason they thought alcohol was okay but marijuana wasn't. But you know what? I have now become the older generation, and other people in my generation and the generation younger than me is still fighting the drug war and still keeping marijuana illegal. It's not a generational battle. It's a battle between authoritarians and libertarians. So I'm here to tell you, if I am elected governor of this state, I will immediately pardon all the drug offenders who are in jail for nonviolent crime. And I will propose legislation to make marijuana more available to the patients that need it and to the population generally. Thank you.
Hey, wouldn't it be great if we can get people into office like that?
Yep.
Vote for that. Vote for that. Hey, you. What's up, guys? I might have eaten a Rice Krispie treat before I got here. I'm feeling pretty good. All right. So your next speaker works with the Jersey Shore Regional NORML. He's a Rutgers graduate, and he's a former Democratic committeeman for New Brunswick, New Jersey. Ladies and gentlemen, Carmen.
Thank you. Thanks for that introduction. I just want to start by saying that it's an honor to be here today with all of you. I am so encouraged by this turnout, despite the fact that it's game day, NFL football season, and we still have a pretty good turnout. It says a lot about what the people of this state want. You know, there's a lot of smart people up here today, and they're making a lot of really, really good points for why we need to decriminalize. The fact that it's a Schedule I substance, with no accepted medical use when you have methamphetamine and cocaine as Schedule II makes no sense. The fact that we would save hundreds of millions of dollars a year in New Jersey by decriminalizing, and we would empower our law enforcement to use existing resources to fight real crime. But I only have 3 to 5 minutes up here, so I would encourage everyone to just go home, if you're new to this, and Google this stuff and draw your own conclusions. So I'm just going to tell you a quick story. When I was at Rutgers, I would take the bus to all of my classes, when I actually went to class. And I always made it a point to say thank you to the bus driver. And I began to notice that over the years that people behind me would almost always say thank you too. And it would start a chain reaction of thank yous, thank you, down the line. The person in front of me would almost never say thank you. I've been thinking a lot about what that means, what that might say about us as people. The polls show that a majority of New Jersey voters support removing criminal penalties for marijuana. Many of these people are not vocal about their beliefs. They're afraid. I had a cop say to me recently, well, if you believe this, why don't you move to Colorado? Move to Colorado? For my belief? Is this America? Move to Colorado? There is no doubt a chilling effect on free speech when it comes to marijuana, but we are here today because we are tired of being afraid. It is time for us as activists to activate people. When we do that, we will liberate them from the fear that keeps them silent. The criminalization of marijuana is simply bad policy. And it has been felt by residents of New Jersey for decades, and it has gone on long enough. It is time for the people who work in this building for us to start listening to us. It is time that they realize, as we do, that the criminalization of marijuana is more detrimental to the public than the drug itself. It is time that they recognize, as we have, that there is an opportunity cost to delaying the inevitable, and it is a cost that is paid for by New Jersey families, and we can't afford it. It is time that we pass this bill and begin to end this prolonged and misguided war on marijuana. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. How's everyone? Is everyone hanging in out there? Let me get something. Come on. The next speaker is a patient. He's a mental patient, but he's a real good guy. I've met him recently. He has some great things to say. We've got to love the color and individuality that comes to this. I mean, Ken comes up here as a nurse. I'm hosting this. I'm obviously an idiot. There's Paulie. So, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Politano.
Hello. As you can see, I came dressed for the drug war. I'm tired of it. I've been in this drug war since I was brought into it in 1984. My first arrest. I haven't been out of the system since. I'm tired of it. Tired. So, Chris Christie, what you're saying is that Attorney General Holder, not pursuing the laws in Colorado and Washington, the federal government, they're basically legalizing marijuana. Is that what you said? And you wouldn't even do it in your state if you came across your desk. Who the hell are you to tell me what I can put in my body? Give me a second. All right. Yeah. Recently, we had a sort of a victory with this bill that with the medical marijuana. You know, he kind of weaseled his way out of it the most he can. He has everything that he does is in sights with the White House. Just like our government has not decided literally about this drug. Not drug, this plant. It's not a drug. This plant. They have not really, I mean, what? They said they'll turn a blind eye because they're waiting to see how much damn money they can make.
Yeah.
Once they make enough money, then guess what? It's gonna be okay. They're gonna want it. What they say, the first, I forget how much is going into the school system out there. Guess what? There's gonna be a lot of happy parents. All right, back to this. Woo! Woo! So why, Mr. Christie, are you making me out to be a criminal because I choose to do something that you don't choose to do? You're obviously against it. You've been against it from day one. You came out with your speech down by my town over in Point Pleasant. You came down there talking and you said, marijuana, there's no such thing as medical marijuana. Marijuana is just marijuana. Well, what the hell did he do a couple weeks ago? We forced him into a corner. He had no choice because he had to do it. What did he look like? What would he look like if he let a little kid die? He had to do that. He had no choice. So guess what, Mr. Christie? We're going to do the same thing with the legalization. We're going to back you into a corner so you have no choice but to do it. Yeah, we're going to, the outcry for legalization, we will continue to hold rallies. We will start marches. Enough! Every month, I go to Philadelphia to take part in Smoke Down. Yeah. You know what that is? That's where you actually stand up for your rights and you say, excuse my language, everyone, fuck the government, and I'm going to smoke. And I do that every month. And I do it every day. Every morning, I wake and bake. Am I a patient? Like my friend Mr. Poe said, maybe I should be a mental patient. I don't know. Some people say I am crazy. All right, now. I'm having fun. Now listen, anyway, going back to this whole thing with the Marianne. I mean, this guy, do you know what this guy pulled? I mean, really, my wife, she was up here saying, like, you know, he went up there and he basically said, look, the public, listen, if you smoke this, guess what? Your daughters are going to want to marry black people. And guess what? That didn't sit good with the public of 1930. You got to remember, back in the 30s, it was a lot different country than we live in today. A lot. Yes, we had made some progress, but we got a long, long ways to go. Enough is enough. It's legal in 2 states now. We want it legal here. I know I do. How many people want it legal in New Jersey? Yeah. All right. So, getting a little bit behind myself. Oh yeah, back to this guy Christie. I think he's like a rogue governor, to be honest. This guy, he's doing basically what he wants. He says he's acting rogue. He's, seems like you do what you want. The polls don't lie. There's over 50% on any given day, people want it legal, period. And on any given day, they don't think you should be locked up before it, period. So why are you constantly, continually making this out to be, this plant, a crime? It's not a crime, Mr. Christie. It's not. I'm sorry. get your priorities in straight. You know, we should not be worrying about marijuana. I mean, there's a lot more problems in our state. I mean, for one, I mean, I don't know how anybody feels about like what our country's doing with this Syria thing, but I don't want no war on my name, that's for damn sure. But that's another subject, all right? There's a lot of problems with our country, and I'm here to try to take care of one of them, and that's marijuana legalization. It's about time that we all stand together. If we don't stand for something now, we will fall for anything later. I'm going to quote from a man whose philosophies I often ponder. Governments often exhibit most deplorable stupidity. However, enlightened may be the men who compose and constitute them, or the peoples whose destinies they direct. It is therefore incumbent on every man and woman to take proper steps to cause the revisions of all existing statutes on the basis of the law of liberty. The law being a law of liberty, the aim of the legislation must be to secure the amplest freedom for each individual in the state, ensuring the presumptuous assumptions that any given positive ideal is worthy to be obtained. For those who know who that is, you're in the know. For those who don't, maybe you can see me later. I'll tell you who it was, because if I say who it was, it'll discredit right away who this man was. But if you're interested, come see me. We'll talk more about marijuana legalization. It has to be here. It has to start here. I was in Colorado for 420. I know what it's like to be free and smoke. All right. Right before I got on the plane and went through their little molestation in the airport, right outside, I was smoking a big fat one. And guess what? I walked in, still smelling like it, and they couldn't do a effing thing. Sorry, they couldn't. But guess what? There was a guy in front of me. He was coming from Cannabis Cup too. He had a little E-pen on him. Guess what? They stopped him. They went through all his stuff. They brought him into the back room because he had an E-pen that had some oil in it, and they weren't sure if that was cannabis or not. So they made sure that he had to throw that out. Or maybe the guy took it home with him. Anyway, I know what it's like to be free. I was over there for a weekend, and I'm hoping to go back. Like Carmen said, I thought about moving there myself. Hell no, I live in New Jersey. I'm going to change the damn laws here so these guys can't come and fuck with me no more. Alright, that's about it. I ain't got nothing else to say. I probably fucked this whole speech up, but I hope someone got something out of it.
Dude's nuts. Thanks, Paul. Hey, so who's been to Smoketown Prohibition in Philly?
Yeah.
All right, a few of you. Who knows about Smoketown Prohibition in Philly? So why am I seeing more hands out here for the second question? You guys should all be there. September 21st. I'm sorry, I'm going to plug this, Max. Is that all right? All good. All right, September 21st, Liberty Bell in Philadelphia, 3 o'clock. We're going to have a bunch of speakers, and then we're going to smoke pot at 420. Come out there and commit some civil disobedience with us. Get this friggin' law changed. Your next speaker. I'm sorry, guys. You wanted to clap for me? Go ahead. Clap for me. Come on. All right. So your next speaker is a good friend of mine. He is a medical cannabis patient in New Jersey. He does a lot of. He helps us out a lot in Philly. He's a really good dude. Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Miller.
Jim Roth.
Smoked too much last night. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Thank you everybody for coming out. This is a really big deal here in New Jersey right now. We have people that are suffering. More importantly, there are children suffering that the people in the building behind me, they have taken these children's money knowing that they haven't had medicine. That is fucked up. Me, myself, I'll go around the corner somewhere and I'll find something to get myself by. We need to fix this for children to get them access. That's primary for me anyway. We definitely live in a pharmaceutical state. They're in the pockets of every politician here. About 85% of our revenue is from pharmaceuticals. Me, myself, I cannot use most pharmaceutical medications. I'm a recovering heroin addict, and I have multiple sclerosis. For my pains, they want to give me Percocets, they want to give me Xanax, they want to give me Oxycontin and morphine. If I take any of those medications, I'll be in every one of your pockets trying to rip every one of you off. And I'll be in jail and I'll be dead. I use marijuana as medicine. Not only as medicine, but I don't drink alcohol either. When I drink alcohol, I don't get drunk. I black the fuck out. I wake up in handcuffs and in a jail cell. So, because of that, I choose to smoke marijuana, and like I said, I am a medical patient. The state of New Jersey has yet to provide me medicine. I'm not gonna wait for the state. Fuck that, fuck the law, I'm gonna smoke it anyway. And when I'm saying fuck the law, I have extreme respect for officers, police officers. There are good cops, there are bad cops. When I say fuck the law is wrong. Not the police, they're out there doing what they're told to do. They will lose their jobs, they will lose their pensions. But, like I said, the state has forced me to go out and find medicine my own way. So, my choice is, I like vaporizing, I like my oils. The state, I don't think, is going to provide this for a lot of patients, so I've been taught to do this on my own. And I'm going to stand up here on the state steps and I'm going to ingest my medicine. But that does feel a little bit like freedom. I want to thank Don for giving me a chance to come up here and speak. Get involved with this, please. It's about being active. You're not an activist if you're not active. Don't call yourself an activist if you're not active. Get out, put in footwork, please. We need people to come out of the closets to change laws. People standing behind closed doors, not opening their mouths. Closed mouths do not get fed. Like, people get locked up every day over a plant that I will probably never get to grow legally in New Jersey because of the pharmaceutical state. And that's sad because at $500 an ounce, I can't afford that. I bring home $780 a month. New Jersey's medical prices are ridiculous, and the only way things are going to get changed is by us taking action, and it's been shown. So please continue to come out, show support, call your senators, call legislatures. Let's get this thing done. Let's make this fucking plant legal, please.
Thank you, Jim. Jim's honesty is wonderful for me to see, because people go through a lot of stuff in their life. Yeah, then fucking help us. Thank you, Jim, once again. It's nice to see a lot of younger people here. I believe that the children are the future. It's a Whitney Houston joke. She died from pharmaceuticals. Your next speaker is a candidate for state assembly and a good friend of my pal and his running mate, Don DeZarn. Ladies and gentlemen, Sean O'Connor.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank all of you for being here. I want to thank Normal New Jersey and my running mate Don DeZarn for putting this together. This is amazing, and this is what America's about, so thank you very much. Thank you. More than 14 million Americans use marijuana, and for a wide range of ailments. I'll name just two of marijuana's uses. It promotes relaxation, and it helps fight the war on cancer. Yeah. Most marijuana consumers do not commit fraud. Most marijuana consumers do not steal from, or assault, or rape, or murder their fellow Americans. And yet they are treated as if they do. They are harassed, they are fined, they are imprisoned, they are humiliated. They are treated like they are second-class citizens, and many of their lives have been ruined. All the while, if I want to drink alcohol, which if abused is more dangerous than marijuana, that's legal. This is an unfair policy which has nothing whatsoever to do with our protection. And it has everything to do with politicians who lack understanding. Unfortunately, their lack of understanding has also caused them to be stubborn, and at the expense of millions of Americans who earnestly seek the relief that marijuana offers them. Their lack of understanding has caused yet another problem: record-breaking violence. Because our government is preoccupied with arresting non-violent marijuana consumers and dealers, murderers are taking advantage of this, especially right here in Trenton. 32 people have been murdered in the last 9 months. That's not only more murders within a 9-month period in this city's history, that's more murders within a period of 1 year than any year in this city's long history. Despite this horrific consequence, as I have indicated, a majority of politicians are stubbornly opposed to legalizing marijuana. Thank you. The only way to solve this problem is to elect representatives who will prioritize the fight to legalize marijuana and to recognize that the unjust prohibition of marijuana is only one symptom of a large fundamental problem, which is that a majority of politicians are unqualified for their jobs, and they do not grasp the concept freedom. They have given us the highest property taxes and the highest debt per capita in the entire country. They believe that public schools should prohibit critical thinking and outside-the-box thinking. They are not transparent. They want more expensive health care, and they invent and stand behind scams like the red light camera program, which is devised to do nothing but steal our money from us because they can't pay their bills. They oppose our right to self-defense, and they are homophobic. We need new and improved politicians. And ladies, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, that's what Don DeZarn, Ken Kaplan, and I promise to offer you if elected to the state legislature and to be the governor of the state. But ladies and gentlemen, we need your help to get us elected. We need you to stand behind us, not just for the legalization of marijuana, but on principle, in the fight for freedom. We need you to share our Facebook posts, to hand out our flyers, to contribute money. Thank you. To go door to door and to tell everyone in the 14th district to vote for DeZarn and Sean O'Connor, and to tell everyone in the state of New Jersey to vote for Mr. Ken Kaplan to be our governor. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be having a fundraiser at Scoopers. It's an ice cream place in East Windsor next Saturday from 5 to 10. They sell the best vanilla ice cream I've ever had. I guarantee it. And October 14th, we're going to be right back here demanding an improvement in our public education system. I am so happy, ladies and gentlemen, to see all of us here standing united for one cause. Yeah. I hope we remain this way for a long, long, long time to come. May God bless New Jersey, and may God bless the state. May God bless New Jersey, and may God bless America. Thank you very much.
Hi. What's up? I'm good. How you guys doing? Good. Good. Hey, how many of you have kids? Any of you have kids? So you guys know what's going on in Jersey, I guess, right? That's why we're all here. Because the whole kid thing. You know, why can't kids get the same treatment that adults are getting? Like, if cannabis helps those kids with these severe illnesses, why can't those kids get cannabis? It's not fair. If it helps them, they need it too. They have an endocannabinoid system just like we do. It helps them just like it helps us. Our next speaker has a son with Dravet syndrome. His name is Jax. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennie Storms.
How many of you guys have children and remember how your life changed when that child was born? Well, I had that same dream. But at the age of 4 months, my son began shaking. His body stiffened up like a board, and he started turning blue. He was having a seizure. This is when my world changed. Since that day in 1999, Jackson has failed over 50 different drug combinations. He's had 2 brain surgeries, and he's also had a VNS implanted. And today he still has seizures. We've grasped at many hopes. We've failed many things. We've been optimistic, we've been defeated, but I always come back and I want to try what's going to work possibly for my son. We've even imported medication from France. The state of New Jersey is paying for that. And you know what? It's not working either. The medication from France has caused my son to have GI upset, anorexia. He's lost 10 pounds in less than a month. He has muscle wasting, and the rapid weight loss is causing problems. He is having trouble with the ketogenic diet now. How do you maintain your body weight and your muscle mass if your body can't process those foods? These drugs are killing his stomach. Today, Jackson is 14 years old. He's currently on 4 anti-epileptic medications with the ketogenic diet, which is nutritionally deficient. He has tons of supplements. If the poster was here, if you guys have seen my Facebook, you've seen the conglomerate of medications he takes every single day. He has seen success using this high CBD, low THC medication that we are talking about. His seizures were better. So can you imagine knowing the medical benefits and nothing changes? Dr. Sanjay Gupta stated that we all have been misled for decades, and he apologizes for his part in this hypocrisy. We live in America and cannot take an effective medication which has been proven to work with intractable seizures in adults, children, rats, and other models around the world. What the children need is not psychoactive, will not get them high. There is no potential for abuse, and unlike the current benzodiazepines and barbiturate medications Jack has been prescribed over the past 14 years, he will not get high. Like many children, the adults would also benefit from this form of medication with the high CBD, low THC, as well as the edible forms which the governor is only now allowing for children. What happens when Jack becomes an adult? That's only 3.5 years away from me. Will he have to begin smoking his medication? Should I have him do that next to his oxygen tank? Can you imagine having dual residency from a court order? Because Jack has dual residency. He is a California resident and he is a New Jersey resident. He has to be in 2 states. In one of these residencies, you guys guess it, California, he can take his high CBD, low THC medication in any form he wants. It's working without side effects and he has experienced the fewer seizures. When the seizures do occur, they are less intense and shorter in duration. He is also able to use much more speech with more effective communication. He can attend to his tasks for a longer period of time and has fewer autistic-like tendencies and behaviors. He is alert, he is awake, he is engaged in his world, and he is able to enjoy his family and friends. He has a much better quality of life. Here in New Jersey, the other state, Jax is not allowed to continue his course of treatment. He doesn't have access to medication at any dispensary in New Jersey at this time, although we've had our card since February. It is not available. The dispensaries are closed, yet not approved, or unable to handle the demand from the state. So does this child, my son, go back to taking those failed medications which is causing more brain damage, triggering more seizures, and causing behavioral side effects? Well, that's the only option that's legal here in the state of New Jersey. If I continue with the proven medical marijuana treatment from California as his mother, I am a criminal. I can be arrested for giving my son a better quality of life with effective medication from a simple little plant, the marijuana plant. So can you imagine how this disappointing situation is, living in America, not being able to take a medication which is proven to work for intractable epilepsy for decades?
Criminal.
The citizens and the legislature of both these states, in California and New Jersey, say medical marijuana should be allowed to the citizens. However, in New Jersey, we have a governor who is regulating it to death and not allowing access. The citizens of New Jersey are being misled as to the current situation and the availability of medical marijuana in New Jersey. No, I cannot bring my California medical marijuana medication to New Jersey for my son, and I cannot get medical marijuana in New Jersey. Again, Jack has had his card since February. Like many people in the state of New Jersey, there is no access. He's had his 3 doctors sign off. He's had his background check and paid all those wonderful fees. Card still expires in 2 years. Jax needs his medication from the medical marijuana plants, which will offer him a quality of life and a level of comfort from the relentless, unending seizures of Dravet syndrome. Can you imagine being told by your governor what medications to take for your medical condition? And he will not allow the one medication that has been proven to work to be used. Instead, he begins to practice medicine without a proper education from a recognized medical school. He interferes with effective medical treatment in the name of politics. He's allowing a fear of previous generations to scare him away from the truth, and he's listening to others who refuse to read the scientific literature and other information available to them. These politicians and doctors were not even listening to their own medical peers. Dr. Sanjay Gupta, after all, he did apologize to the nation for being part of the problem. Can you imagine being arrested, having your child taken away? This is what is happening in America every day for card holders and registered patients. In New Jersey, it is even more precarious. The registered patients cannot even get access to the medication and have been told on multiple occasions to seek out their own medications by state officials and governmental offices. So here's the solution for now. Let's decriminalize marijuana possession, allow the registered patients and card holders access to safe and effective medication. Allow me, a parent, to treat my child without having a fear of being put in jail, losing my child to DIFUS, or even death at the hands of pharmaceuticals or another foster parent, as happened recently in another state. Can you imagine being the parent of a special needs child with a rare genetic disorder, which has created a very fragile medical situation and one treatment which is working, were it to be illegal and you could not get help for your child? This is what my life has become. I am tortured every day with having to choose between treating my child and giving him a quality of life and possibly going to jail, or just pumping him full of medications which are not working. And it is stealing the rest of his life. So I'm here to say I am not a criminal. I am not a politician. I am not an activist. I am a mother. I'm a citizen. I'm a professional registered nurse. I'm a mom and I love my children, and marijuana is a medication that can give me back my child after 14 years of seizures, drugs,
hospitalizations, and medical experimentation. My son deserves the best life has to offer with medication which is known to work effectively, medical marijuana. He deserves this now. He does not deserve to be a child with a mother in jail because she knows what is helping his seizures go away. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I think it's asinine that people even have to, like Rowyn is a full-grown woman. She had to come up here and eat a wafer defiantly in front of people. I mean, I don't think we're asking for very much. And here in New Jersey, we don't have patience in Pennsylvania. So it's inspiring to come over here and see so many people fighting to do what's right, and it's fucking great. So your next speaker started out with doing some activism work in Texas with Dallas NORML. He's moved here. He worked very hard putting this together today. He's the outreach coordinator for NORML New Jersey, and he's going to be talking to you for a little bit. So, ladies and gentlemen, Max Davidson. Max.
Very happy to see everyone out here today. It's a big sacrifice for some football fans, I know. I'm really happy again to see everyone come out here in support of marijuana reform and taking an active part in trying to end the draconian and racist war on marijuana. Marijuana might not be for everyone, but for God's sakes, it should not be a crime anymore. We're not stuck in the 30s. We're not stuck in these racial, deep yellow journalism saying that marijuana is going to make your wife want to sleep with a black man. It's ridiculous. We need to get past these stupid stereotypes and things that we use to justify arresting people for a plant that's never killed anyone. In 1972, there was a report submitted by the Schaefer Commission to President Nixon. Guess what it said? Marijuana shouldn't be legal. It shouldn't be illegal. We should end the prohibition on marijuana. Guess what happened after that? The rapid militarization of our police force. We have lost our rights, unfortunately. The rapid militarization has caused a war against weed. It's been used in the war against weed, and with devastating results. I see people getting their families broken apart. I see dogs getting shot for no reason. What kind of person shoots a dog for a plant, for a gram of pot? How do you sleep at night shooting someone for pot, shooting someone's dog for a little bit of pot? How do you sleep? I couldn't do that. I don't understand how these people do it either. And if the war on weed was ended, they wouldn't have to. It would stop this stupid violence. We've been fighting this war for 80 years. We've been fighting a war against a plant for 80 years, and we've been losing. I think it's high time that we stop fighting this. Albert Einstein once said that the definition of insanity is trying to do the same thing over and over again, getting the same result, and expecting something different to happen. We've been arresting people over and over and over again for marijuana. For what reason? What damage are they doing to anyone? What damage are they doing to themselves? Has anyone ever died from smoking marijuana? I think not. Are minorities smoking marijuana at a rate of 4 to 1? Absolutely not. But they're getting arrested at a rate of 4 to 1 to a Caucasian? That's absolutely deplorable. How is... Just because someone has a different skin color, they should get arrested? What kind of shit is that? Sorry. I need to reclaim. It's high time that we take a new, sensible approach to cannabis policy. A recent poll in New Jersey stated that 60% of New Jersey voters favored the decriminalization of small amounts of marijuana. Isn't it time you listened to the people, Governor Christie? Isn't it time you respected the will of over 3/5 of your state that wants legalization or decriminalization of some sort? They're tired of the drug war. We're weary. We are weary of arresting our family members and friends for a plant that's not hurting anyone. You don't see someone going into a store and robbing a store because they smoke marijuana or they need marijuana. Other drugs may be. Marijuana causes 3 side effects: happy, hungry, and sleepy. Nothing else. I've never heard of anyone killing anyone on marijuana. The only thing I've ever heard of someone hurting on marijuana is whatever's in the refrigerator. That's it. There's no harm. You're not hurting yourself. You're not going to hurt anyone else. And you want to say, oh, what about people driving and smoking marijuana? Guess what? Look at Colorado. The drunk driving rates have gone down. The DUI rates have gone down. Traffic fatalities have gone down. Every excuse that these politicians have used can be proven scientifically to be false. It's time to be on the right side of history, not the wrong side of history. We arrested 22,000 people in 2010 for minor marijuana possession. Don't you think we have a better use of our time than that? It cost us $125 million. Couldn't we do something better with that $125 million? What are we pissing our money away on this? We have crumbling roads and bridges. We have towns that look like war zones. You go into Camden, it looks like you're in a foreign country. There's city blocks that are literally burnt to the ground. Well, I feel like I've been in there and I felt like I was in America. Shouldn't we be spending $125 million on restoring America than arresting non-violent marijuana users? It's high time that we change our marijuana policy. We need to stop arresting these people. They aren't hurting anyone. They're not hurting themselves. We're hurting them by arresting them. We're ruining their future. In 1998, Governor Christie Todd Whitman passed the Higher Education Act, which made it so that if you got convicted of having possession of even 0.01 grams of marijuana, a roach, you lose all federal funding to school, to get a loan to school. Mind you, a convicted child molester can still get that federal funding. What the hell is going on with that? How can a child molester go to school with federal funding, but someone who got arrested for smoking a joint can't go to school and better their lives? This is utterly ridiculous. This is asinine. We are wasting our time and money on this. When we don't have it, we don't have money. We had to sequester and cut benefits for people on Social Security. We had to sequester to cut benefits to all of our programs. But we can still keep arresting people for marijuana? It doesn't make sense. Prohibition does not work. Alcohol was a prime example of that almost 80 years ago. They should have taken, how do we keep making the same mistakes over and over again? We need to elect new people. We have several politicians here who have the right idea. They understand the will of the people and that we need to take a new approach to cannabis policy. We need to stop locking up nonviolent drug offenders. We need to legalize marijuana on a federal level eventually. We need to legalize hemp, the jobs it can create, the money that we'd be saving in taxes. There's so many benefits and I haven't seen a single con. They haven't been able to bring up a single con. There's all these people that make lies about marijuana are fighting to keep their own pockets lined. People like Mary Pat Angelini, Assemblywoman from I believe District 10. Her organization, which is state funded, is for marijuana, is to educate people against marijuana, and yet that isn't a conflict of interest when she votes against medical marijuana. How is that right? How is she not abstaining herself? How is there not any law saying that she can't be involved in two opposing conflict of interests? That's like saying, that's like what, I'm not even getting to Monsanto, but people that serve Monsanto are now involved with their government. That's a conflict of interest. You can't have your hand in two pots. You're not effectively representing your people that way. You're representing your pocket. And guess what? People like us, we're done with it. We're tired of it, are we not? That's why we're here. Absolutely. We are in Trenton right now, our capital, the capital of our great state. It is being torn apart by violent crime. Newark, one of our biggest cities, has had 10 murders in 10 days. But we're still going after non-violent marijuana users? There's rapists, murderers, and thieves out there. I don't think I should be targeted or anyone else here that smokes marijuana should be targeted. And guess what? A lot of people here don't even smoke marijuana and they're still here. Guess what? Governor Christie, it's time for you to get on the side of the people. Not everyone smokes marijuana, but everyone knows that marijuana should not be a crime. I am really happy that everyone is going to support this, and I implore you, I urge you to contact your state senator and ask them for their support on Senate Bill 1977 to decriminalize 50 grams of marijuana in the Garden State and stop arresting non-violent marijuana users like us and everyone else in this state that should not be arrested and put in jail for smoking a plant that's never killed someone in 5,000 years. I also have a message for Cory Booker, our Democratic candidate for Senate. He's openly said that he's for medical marijuana and going farther than that. And he said he's talking about sit-ins at the Capitol, at the State House. Guess what? We're here. Where are you? You want to support us? You want our votes in November? You need to come out and support the people that are going to support you. You're an advocate for marijuana reform? Come show it. Anyone who is interested in getting involved with Normal New Jersey and helping to reform these marijuana laws, I urge you to speak to us and get involved, and together we can decriminalize New Jersey. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. That was wonderful. Our next speaker today has been an inspiration to me. His work over like almost 2 decades at this point. I just hope someday I could be a crabby old bastard like this guy. He's one of the founders of NORMLNJ, and I mean that so lovingly. And his work is just inspirational. Mr. Jim Miller.
Okay, it's been 20 years that I've been coming here to the State House for marijuana law reform, medical marijuana law reform. I co-founded the Coalition for Medical Marijuana with Ken Wolski 10 years ago. We're both board members of Normal New Jersey as we are now, but we thought there might want to be an organization dedicated solely to medical marijuana in New Jersey to help patients in New Jersey, that we could wear 2 hats and get both done a little bit separately. I found early on you can't just stand up and say something and get people to listen. I embarked on a journey in 1993 to get the press to pay attention. I pushed Cheryl's wheelchair from Seaside here, 58 miles in 25 hours with a sign on it that said, medical marijuana for multiple sclerosis. Oh, I forgot to tell you who Cheryl is. Most of you already know, that's why I don't mention it. It's my late wife. She had multiple sclerosis, and she is my inspiration and and my reason for still being here, because there's a lot of other Cheryls out there. She had multiple sclerosis, could only move her head for the last decade of her life, couldn't move her arms, and she showed up when a lot of people didn't. When I walked that chair across the state, and it was long, and there's 3 television cameras here, I thought, all right, I hit a nerve. I knew what to do. So I showed them the first demonstration at the State House, and we counted a crowd of 1 people. I was by myself. I had a brother and a friend help me at the end, but they stayed out of camera shot because you don't want to be known for marijuana law reform then. I've walked across the state here 4 times since, each time a little more interest. When I ran for New Jersey State Senate in 2005, I walked across the state and delivered my signatures here to get on the ballot. And I want to tell you, what's different about this now is I've spoken from this exact spot a half a dozen times to that statue back there, because that's the only person I had to speak to, generally. It's real nice to look at real faces and real people just to keep trying to get a point across. I'd have to say, also, I had a really good stuff going. It would have been fluid, bam, 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 but there were so many good speakers in front of me, they did 60% of what I was going to do, so I'm left with some scraps of notes. I'm doing the best I can. I'm looking for a number 2. Yeah, we think of it as 2 fronts in this war on marijuana. There's medical, and there's what I like to call social use, because I drink beer socially, I don't drink it recreationally. I smoke marijuana socially, I don't smoke it recreationally. So anyway, there are two fronts, but make no mistake about it. It's not one or the other. It's not which do we do first. It's one war, and we are operating from two different directions. I'll be honest with you, without medical, we wouldn't be talking about decrim right now. It wouldn't be happening. I'm sorry to say that medical did have to come first. We got to get the sick and the sick children off the damn battlefield first, but we don't have to stop with decriminalization and legalization efforts. It's not one or the other. The Coalition for Medical Marijuana in New Jersey officially supports decriminalization of marijuana in New Jersey. It's the first time. We're going to have to change our mission statement, Ken, because we are not any longer just supporting medical marijuana, contrary to our mission statement. We support decriminalization because we have such a screwed up law in New Jersey with so few patients it can help, as little as possible, that telling patients you will not have a criminal record for having 15 ounces of medicine may be the best they can do because they can't get into our overly restrictive law. So I'm here kind of trying to wear two hats here today. But I used to hear I've been arrested in a congressman's office one time, giving my wife marijuana in front of the world press and the Capitol Police. I got arrested for laying her down. Yeah, park and join us! Has any of them actually stopped yet? I mean, come on, you know, let's gather on here. Congressman Bob Barr, who single-handedly defeated DC's initiative some decade and a half ago, we took over his office one day. I laid Cheryl on the floor in his office doorway so nobody could pass. I did get to talk to him, and he told me about it's a slippery slope. And you know what? He was right. All the prohibitionists were right about it being a slippery slope, and I knew it then, but I didn't want to tell them. Yeah, the slippery slope is if sick people start using marijuana for medicine and they don't go on to harder drugs and they don't lose their control of their lives, and nothing we've heard about what might happen to people if they smoke marijuana, none of that is evident in law-abiding medical marijuana patients. What's next? Well, what's wrong with marijuana then? Why not use it socially? That's the slippery slope. It's called the truth, and they did not want the truth to be known for patients, so they fight medical marijuana hard just to keep it being legal for, well, people like me. And in New Jersey, let's see, 20 states have passed medical marijuana law. Let me see if I can tell you who they are without looking at notes, and then we'll see who has short-term memory loss. Alphabetically speaking, Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, DC, Delaware. We got Hawaii, we got Illinois. We move on to Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, Montana, Nevada, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New Mexico, Oregon, Rhode Island, Vermont, and the state of Washington have all passed medical marijuana law. We were 14th, and we did something bad, and we got to make good on it now for every other state. We set the bar so low for such a strict law that other states are now saying, you know, maybe we shouldn't let patients grow their own like in New Jersey. We were the first state to do that. We need to make changes to our law to show other states that it's not working here, and we need to do it now. We got our biggest help in the last couple months from children who are sick. Names like Vivian, Jax, Jenna. Sick children. They open the door for us, for other patients, because they're not going to have ill effects from the medicine. And if children can use it, then adults could use it for medicine. And if adults can use it for medicine, they can use it for whatever they damn well please. I got to say, and I'm going to wrap it up, that the most people I've ever counted my 20 years ago in the medical marijuana rallies, seriously, was 49, and I would count a dozen times looking for 50 and couldn't find it. That was 2000 in New Brunswick at a rally at Al Gore's presidential headquarters, and that was a man named John Wilson's trial in Somerset, a patient who was growing marijuana. Today I counted 94 people here, 4 across the street that were listening. That's 98, and I remembered to count myself. I'm sorry we didn't quite reach 100 today, but we doubled the best attendance we've ever had in the history of New Jersey. One hand, that's good. Damn right. Applaud yourself for being here. But we don't just go home. We got to go home and do the simple stuff. You all spent more time and effort getting here than it takes for you to do what you need to be doing. Now, I can't tell you specifically what it is, but we got some plans going. What you need to do is you need to stay in touch with Normal New Jersey. You need to keep looking at the Coalition for Medical Marijuana NORMLNJ website. It's just now getting back to being functional. Thank you, Mr. Jim Price. We're working on it. There's going to be things to do, and it's going to take mild participation. You all got computers. You know how to like copy and paste stuff and send a letter somewhere? How long does it take you to do? Copy and paste something and send it somewhere. A minute? How long does it take those of you that have ever seen anybody roll a joint? How long did it take them to roll that joint? It takes less time to do what you need to do to make this law work than it does any time you roll a joint. Think about that the next time you're watching someone else roll a joint. Now, again, everything was covered so well today. I'm really proud of everybody for showing up. I think the effort was fantastic. We got to take something away, though. You got to check in. You got to drive it home. Yeah, Poe's right. I'm an old craggly old piece of human being here. And I've been doing this for a long time. And I can tell you that we almost had it legal back in the mid-late 70s. And you know what we did? We celebrated. We smoked pot and said, good, it's almost legal. That ship left. It left without us because we didn't drive it home. And I know we're all feeling like we're almost there, and we are. But this is like a fight, you know, a serious fight. And if you've ever seen one, when the guy hits the ground, you don't stand there, look out on you, hop on him, and drive it home. You end it. It's time to end it. This is my body. It might not be much. Guess what? It's mine. It's nobody else's. You all are in control of your own bodies. That's your domain, nobody else's. Nobody tells me what furniture to put in my house. Nobody tells me what I can and can't put into my body. And thank you all for showing up today to say just as much as that.
If anyone wants to volunteer to show Jim how to use the internet, he's going to be over here for a little while. Just on behalf of New Jersey Normal, Don, Philly Normal, we'd like to thank everyone for coming out today. Jim's right. This is a great choir that we've built. We need to get out and build a congregation. Average people sitting in their house watching television, people that have jobs or whatever people do during the day, they need to start doing this. So, Mike, our keynote speaker today is our good friend Don. When we met Don was coming to the smoke downs. Now Don has been to a couple of smoke downs at this point, yeah?
Don's more than been to a couple of smoke downs.
Wow. Our keynote speaker today is a good friend of mine. Him and his wife Sissy have become a nice part of my life. They like to say that what we do inspires them, but what they do inspires us. So our next speaker is a state senate candidate in Pennsylvania. He is a man with a couple federal marijuana cases, and he is a wonderful, wonderful gentleman that I'm glad to call a good friend of mine, Mr. Don DeZarn.
Thank you all so much for being here today. I know a lot of you had to travel a long way. You're all giving up time you could be spending with your family and friends on this late summer Sunday afternoon. It means so much to me that you showed up and you're supporting this event. I want to thank Poe and Mike for coming up from Philly. Just by putting their name on the lineup card, they added instant credibility to this event. And they're very good friends. They're dear friends of mine. They both inspire me. And I can't thank them enough for coming up. It means a lot to me. And last but certainly not least, I want to thank my wife. She normally prefers to fly under the radar, but she came out today. There's no way I could possibly do what I've been doing without her support. So to my beautiful wife, Sissy, I love you and thank you for sticking behind me. At this point in the afternoon, there's really not a whole lot that I can go over.
We've had so many great speakers. You guys have done an outstanding job. I appreciate what you've brought to this program. I have learned so much. I'm leaving here inspired. Thank you for what you brought today. What I want to do is tell you a little bit about myself and why I'm so passionate about this movement. If I had somehow stumbled across an event like this 25 years ago, I would have looked at it completely differently. And I'm not proud to say this right now, but I would look at all of you differently. I grew up in the Bible Belt. I was raised by a very religious family who had deep convictions. And as far back as I can remember, I was taught how evil and bad marijuana is for you. That's what framed my early years. Now, like most young people, curiosity got the better of me, and I did take a few tokes along the way, but it's something that I kept hidden. There was only a couple people that knew about it. That all changed 21 years ago in a little small town where I grew up, where I was arrested for the first time for possession of marijuana. I was immediately fired from my job, which, as you can imagine, led to severe financial hardships. It took my wife and I literally years to dig out of. I consider myself a victim of the war on drugs. After that, you would think most people would be fired up and want to do something about it. Unfortunately, I wasn't. I crawled back about as far in the cannabis closet as somebody could, and I hid there. Again, I'm not proud of that. I stepped back and let other people do the fighting for me. It wasn't until last November, when the voters in Colorado and Washington State approved legalization, that a spark went off inside me that said, I need to do something. It's time for me to come out of the cannabis closet. I went to a normal meeting. I left that meeting knowing that I had made friends that I would be friends with for life. And at a normal meeting, I found out about the Smoke Down Prohibition events in Philly. And I went to the first one, and I told Poe this before, so it's not a surprise. I thought it was a great event. I had fun. It was so liberating to be standing out there in public and open and to be able to smoke a joint. And nobody was doing anything back in those days about it. But I really didn't think Poe was going to get too far with it. But look where he's come now. That's what one person can do. That's what all of you can do. As Jim was saying, and I've had the privilege and the pleasure of meeting a lot of old-time activists who've been around longer than I've been alive. And I keep hearing that same message, that back in 1970, they thought they were only a year away from seeing legalization. And then I asked what happened. Well, we took our foot off the gas. So please, we have got so much momentum on our side right now, but we cannot take our foot off the gas. We have got the politicians' attention, but we need to keep fighting. So when you go home, as Jim said, let's not end this here. Our government wages war against us 365 days a year, 24/7. We have to fight back just as hard if we're going to win this war. Again, thank you so much for all of you who came out. I appreciate it. This is just the first of these rallies. We want to take these all over the state. I'm inspired by what my friends down in Philly have done. We're not going to stop here. So thank you all so much. God bless you. And keep fighting the fight, my friends.
Tell me where you want to go, lady. Tell me.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Stand up.
Yeah.
Hi. When I looked at the list of speakers today, I noticed my esteemed colleagues had a lot of labels after their names. There's regional directors, et cetera, et cetera. I looked at mine, it said Sandy Payton. And so I was just a little intimidated. I am a patient. I'm a patient of MS, and I'm a patient of neurosarcoidosis. I've had these diseases for approximately 25 years, and they're two diseases that are very painful. One of the side effects from the diseases and the medications I have is insomnia. Probably haven't slept for about 10 years, literally had not slept. I was up 24 hours a day, and as you can imagine, it was starting to drive me a little crazy. I finally remembered that one of the reasons I didn't smoke marijuana in high school or college is because it made me fall asleep. So I went out and I got myself some marijuana, and before I knew it, it was morning, and I cried because I actually slept. And I couldn't believe that I had all of these medications. I had every kind of drug you can think of, and this one was just so simple. It just didn't make any sense. I was 34 when this happened. Now, I'm not going to tell you about all the drugs I've been on because everybody knows about that. I'm on 2 drugs right now that's heroin, backed by heroin. The side effects from these drugs have, just some of them have left my skin so it rips like tissue paper. Another side effect I've had from the drugs I've been taking is my capillaries dissolve, all on their own. Every 3 months I have my liver and kidneys checked for cancer and other things that these drugs have done to my body. My bones are that of about a 90-year-old person, and my teeth are actually falling right out of my head, just on their own, because of all the side effects from these drugs. The only side effect I've ever had from marijuana, and I have 2 pulmonary diseases as well. Because I get checked every 3 months, I've never ever had a side effect from pot. It's come in, it's done its it's come in and done its job, and that's been it. The only side effect I've ever had from marijuana is the quality of life, and I thank God for that. And I thank God for all of you today, coming to support all of that. The other 2 things in marijuana does for me is that I have nausea every day, but it's probably comparable to what someone suffers after their chemotherapy. And also, also the pain. It takes a pain that the other 2 heroines can't take care of. Okay, sorry. So I'm telling you here that as a patient, I can't believe we're here today talking about this again 3 years later, that we're talking about the same stuff again, when we should be talking about educating our children, educating our communities, educating our medical communities. That's what we should be talking about now 3 years later, not like, hey, when's the next dispensary opening? That's ridiculous. That shouldn't have been even a thought. So I'm just here to tell you that the reason why I'm here, the reason why we are here today, oh, now I've lost it. Sorry about that. No, okay, sorry. I'm here today to remind you why I'm here today. That's about it. Thank you very much, and thanks for your support. I see a lot of familiar faces out here, and I just love it. Thank you again.
Can I ask you a question, sir?
Yeah, sure.
What are you doing here today?
I'm a card holder in New Jersey, and I'm here to stand up for my rights and try to get a better program for the state and some people that are sicker than I am.
Nice. How long have you had your card for?
Far too long.
Really?
Yeah, it's almost time to re-register, so,
Really?
And I haven't been served yet.
Not at all.
Not at all. I was promised this hopeful September 8th for Egg Harbor, but it's not looking likely at this point.
I've had my card since May.
Yeah.
I haven't had a call or nothing yet. So
Nothing yet?
I know the feeling.
We'll put the program into our own hands at this point.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope they listen to us.
Yeah, me as well. It's nice that you're recording this. Someone's got to take notice.
Yeah, yeah. What, hi, sir. Can I ask what you're doing here?
I'm his caregiver, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So I'm the caregiver holder.
Okay, so you got to go through the whole process yourself.
Yeah, I had to go through the fingerprinting and everything.
The fingerprinting. Yeah, that's something I didn't have to do. Okay.
Yeah, it's weird how they make only the caregivers do it. I don't know.
Yeah. So it was like a background check and a criminal check and
Yeah,
all that
background check, criminal check, fingerprinting, and you have to pay for it all, of course.
stuff? Really? How much did that cost?
I think it was like $60 or $70 for the fingerprinting.
$60 or $70?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then another $200 just for the caregiver card
Wow.
on top of the patient's 200.
So there's no break. You don't like. There's no Social Security or nothing like that.
No, not at all. It's just they just want everything in your wallet basically, and they're not going to give you a phone call.
Is your patient on Social Security?
No, not right now.
Wow. So they had to pay the $200.
Yep.
For nothing.
Exactly.
For nothing.
For nothing. Literally.
For nothing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
Yeah.
So that's why we're here.
Good. Good. Thank you. Can I ask you what you're doing here today?
Protesting the draconian laws that New Jersey has concerning marijuana, the growth of it, the criminalization of all of us, the loss of my freedom.
Yeah. Have you had problems with taking your freedom away for marijuana?
No, but they would if they had a chance.
They would if they could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have MS. I need it. It really works. It does everything that they say it does. It doesn't hurt me. I am able to function fine. I don't see why I can't have it. They said I could 3 years ago when I fought for it, and now, where is it?
Are you a card holder in New
Yes,
Jersey?
I am.
Have you had your appointment yet at the dispensary?
No, there are none around.
Right.
The one that's closest to me is close to 50 miles away in Egg Harbor. And of course that hasn't opened yet.
Right.
September 1st came and went. Now they're telling us again that September 30th is going to come and go. We're still waiting.
Yeah.
Years. Almost 5 years now.
Yeah.
The state has had the law. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. I have my card since May, and I'm still waiting for my call. So.
I had mine last October.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. So I'm behind you somewhere in line, I guess. I don't know where.
Oh yeah, I'm right up there in the first several. Haven't gotten a call. Tried to register up in North Jersey.
That's where I'm
I was
at.
denied.
They won't even return calls.
Well,
Greenleaf.
no. At least when I did call, that's how long ago it was, they did return my call and tell me I live in South Jersey and I wasn't going to have a chance.
Oh, so you got the phone call to say, "No, don't come."
Right.
So,
Or don't even think about it.
Don't even think about coming here.
Right.
Because you don't live across this line where you belong.
Exactly.
So, the magical line that you have to cross.
I was willing, I mean, to go anywhere. And thus I do go anywhere for it.
I don't blame you. That's what the health department says. It says, do what you have to do.
Yeah.
That's their answer. Do what you have to do.
Yeah. If you
From our
get caught, well, too
Yeah,
bad.
don't worry
for you.
about it. Just give them my name.
Yeah, right.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Hi, can I ask you what you're doing here today, sir?
I'm with my wife.
Oh, okay. Very good.
I don't smoke.
She did all your talking for you, I think.
I'm not a smoker.
Thank you.
I'm not a drinker either.
Oh, that's even better. That's even better.
But I don't believe, I've seen too many people in jail.
Yeah.
Getting caught with a joint or paying a fine.
Yeah.
We ought to close the liquor stores.
Oh, yeah.
It
You
would
kidding me?
save about 25,000 lives a year.
Yeah.
That's on the road.
Yeah.
It actually would save about 500,000 lives for
Yeah.
people who OD on alcohol.
Yeah.
College students do it all the time. And what do they blame it on? The fraternity. I remember with the drinking when I was in college. But I wasn't a drinker, so I never drank enough or I got drunk. You just walk around with the same drink all night.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm not a drinker either.
So go ahead and let it rip now and then. Give me a couple of steps over here first. Okay. See you later.
Hi. You're Richard Zuckerman? Is that your name?
I'm Richard Paul Zuckerman, that's right.
Okay.
I'm from New Jersey.
From New Jersey? Are you a patient in New Jersey? Or?
No, but the under 25 gram marijuana possession conviction was used to deny me employment with the U.S. Postal Service.
Oh, wow.
It was used to deny me a permit to purchase a firearm. And I went to lawyers to help. They wouldn't do anything, so I filed a pro se lawsuit in federal court, and I ended up mailing a threat to the judge. So they railroaded me for psychiatric treatment to federal. And now the conviction for mailing a threat is on my record since 1991, and the federal government doesn't have a statute providing for expungement of a adult federal conviction. So they don't believe in rehabilitation. So we got to try to decriminalize. So the legislative history. Anybody who knows about the law, the importance of legislative history, and marijuana, cannabis, comes from law enforcement propaganda from Harry Anslinger, the Bureau of Narcotics director, who had been put out of a job from alcohol prohibition. They don't teach this at school because Common Core and George Herbert Walker Bush's No Child Left Behind, he's a Freemason. And we should not trust government because they're into weakening us. They can control us. There's a problem with that. The government wants to control us, not help our freedoms. Now, New Jersey Constitution, Article 1, Paragraph 1 says, all persons are by nature free and independent and have certain natural and unalienable rights, including those of enjoying and defending life and liberty, of acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and of pursuing and obtaining safety and happiness. Now, enjoying natural rights, all persons have natural rights of pursuing and obtaining happiness, enjoying life. This is Article 1, Paragraph 1 of our state constitution. I'm saying the state government should not be imposing upon us these laws that are, nobody's ever died from cannabis. It's a naturopathic medicine in the U.S. Pharmacopoeia in 1908 or whatever. And now all these medical studies have come out, and the federal government continues to refuse to acknowledge the medical effects, to such an extent that Americans for Free Access has submitted a petition for certiorari scheduled for U.S. Supreme Court conference for September 30th on two questions. Two questions they're asking the U.S. Supreme Court to decide. Number one, how weighty is the decision of the DEA in determining whether to reschedule cannabis out of Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substance Act? And the second question is how much weight should be given to the decisions of conclusions of the DEA in determining whether cannabis should be rescheduled. And I'm saying that the FDA have such ethical conflicts that they should not be trusted. They should be they're so untrustworthy because they're in bed with big business. And the DEA, of course, are pro-law enforcement. They don't want to make a difference between the male and the female plants. The only reason why I could assume they would cut off industrial hemp. House Bill, U.S. Congressional Bill H.R. 525 and Senate 359, companion bills pending right now in Congress and U.S. Senate, would remove hemp from the definition of marijuana. And Assemblyman Gusciora introduced Hemp Bill 2011, A2415, I think it was, but I think we have to resubmit now. But while it was pending, Vermont legalized hemp, and California got through their state Senate. It has to go through the Assembly hemp bill in California. And the Farm Act, Congress passed a Farm Act bill which would allow for research by colleges and universities hemp. So we need this naturopathic medicine. We need to get good agriculture. I say raw milk, hemp, cannabis.
Nice. Awesome.
See you.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Are you here for a reason today?
Just to inform myself.
Oh, okay. You're here to just get some information about medical marijuana?
Yes.
Is somebody you know sick, or are you sick, or do you need...
No, I hear, and about all this, Denver, Colorado, Washington, California.
Yes.
So, and I read in the paper too, about the Chris Christie tried to pass the law for medical marijuana, so that's why.
Yeah, it helps a lot of people.
Yes, and recently I went to see a documentary in the city. It was about a little girl that the parents given some kind of oil, hemp oil, something like that.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that was a story that she got better with the oil, but then they couldn't get the oil, and she got worse, and she finally died. But yeah, well, it's something to.
Do you know the name of that patient?
No, it was a documentary. What was it? I can't remember the name.
It wasn't the Sanjay Gupta one. It was before that.
Before that, yeah. No, not Sanjay Gupta, no. And but again, never know. It's something. If I think if it's I will measure with alcohol. I mean, if it's safer scientifically, it can be proved that it's safer than alcohol. I mean, make no sense, right? I mean, we should.
Yeah.
But if it's worse than alcohol, then it should be prohibited, because we don't want nothing worse than alcohol, right?
I don't think there's much worse than alcohol. All right.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
Thanks,
that's
buddy.
What I think. Okay.
Thank you.